Hey folks, Jesse Jameson with Empowered Networks here. Today we wanted to review the NetMRI IPAM sync process that allows for all of the rich NetMRI discovered data to automatically be synced directly to your DDI grid. So the benefit here, of course, is it takes the DDI grid from a manual entry process that requires constant management to something of a more authoritative view that automatically gets updated based around certain synchronization processes that we can set up within NetMRI. So today we wanted to take you through the exact setup of that NIOS IPAM sync and exactly what you needed to do to get that up and running. So to start with, you'll notice that the view that we're using currently does not have any local addresses in it. I have some vDiscovery data just from our cloud AWS instances, and we're going to go ahead and sync to this demonstration view that we've got set up. So to do that, we are going to need a user in place. Just a quick note, a lot of times people will use the standard admin user, super user permissions. If not, you do need to create a specific group and role permission set. What we found works for us, I will jump into now. So what we've done basically is we've set up a NetMRI IPAM role and a demonstration group here. So you can go ahead and create your group first, go into the roles and actually create your NetMRI IPAM role. And then what we've done is we've given it a series of read-write permissions to be able to update things like the actual IP addresses for both networks, view the network discovery information and network views so we know where we're actually targeting the information to, and of course view the grid permission as well. So you can play around with the permissions. As I mentioned previously, a lot of the users will use just a super user role as well. The other thing to keep in mind is that it will need API access on the actual user itself. So with all of that said and done, the user we're going to end up using today is our NetMRI sync user. So we'll go ahead and jump into the NetMRI solution and take a look at what that looks like. So here from the main landing page of NetMRI, we can go ahead and jump directly into the configuration using the gear in the top right corner. On the right-hand side of your window, you should now have a NIOS IPAM sync option. If you do not see this option here, double check the version. Currently, the latest versions would be 7.4.5 and 7.4.4, but make sure that you do have a more recent version if you're not seeing that NIOS IPAM sync option. So let's go ahead and select that. Now here you're going to see a list of synchronization tasks or jobs that are actually created and going to be run on a specific cadence. You can absolutely have multiple jobs going to different grids, different views. It really depends on what your unique network perspective needs to look like, but you can absolutely configure that directly within this little grid. So to add a new synchronization, we'll click on Add Sync Configuration in the top right corner here. You'll need your DDI grid master, so we'll go ahead and type that in. And of course that NetMRI user that we just talked about creating there, and the password for that user. So assuming all is well, when we hit the next button, NetMRI is actually going to go ahead and log into the DDI grid itself. It's going to pull back the various network views available, and we'll be able to go ahead and select the view we want to synchronize to. So in our case, we're going to go ahead and select that demo view that I was discussing previously. We're going to select within NetMRI which network view we wanted to sync up. So if you do have multiple NetMRI network views, you can absolutely do a one-to-one sync with the DDI grid by creating those various network views in both locations and then mapping them accordingly. We can include all data regardless of polling time. The downfall there is you're going to get a lot of stale data. For example, if you don't have data retention policy set up in NetMRI, you might have devices that have gone stale quite some time ago and just haven't been removed. So something like the include only data pulled in the last X number of hours option allows for us to make sure that we're only getting that clean, crisp data there and not any of this old and stale data that we really don't need in the DDI grid. What to synchronize? We can choose to synchronize, obviously, device information. We can also include addresses from the ARP tables. So that would be giving us more information around end hosts and the various devices that are connected to each of our devices we've discovered. Further to that, we can also add IPAM network and subnet information. So we'll go ahead and click that and bring in all of the information within the discovery ranges. And then, of course, we can also tell the NetMRI solution to add IPAM networks for subnets outside of NetMRI discovery ranges. So even if it's not something that NetMRI is specifically discovering or targeted to patrol, but it's aware of that subnet or network, we're going to go ahead and bring that information up as well. Next, the only thing we need to do is we need to tell it when we'd like to run the synchronization. The process really does only take a few minutes, so it's not a load-intensive process. Some people like to run it daily, some people like to run it hourly. It really depends on how dynamic your network is, but in most cases, a daily run at, say, 6 o'clock in the morning is going to be more than sufficient. One thing I'll mention is you'll notice I've got some other tasks that are running at the same time. Might be a good idea to maybe stagger that task just to make sure we're not putting too much load on the system. Finally, we're going to get a review of all of the information, and here we can confirm that all of the information we provided is accurate, and as long as we're happy with it, we go ahead and hit that finish button. So now what we see is we see a new entry in the actual table for synchronization jobs. It's going to our specific demo view, and when I go ahead and I hit this synchronize button now, that's going to automatically start the sync instead of waiting for the actual time frame. And assuming all is well, we're going to get a status update here in just a minute, letting us know that the sync was started, and you can see it's now showing as in progress. We can use a little refresh in the top right corner of the table here and just confirm the status as it runs through. And here we can see it's now succeeded. It's given us that information as well as the timestamp. And really you can tell, as I mentioned, it took about a minute or so, not even to complete that task. Now, if we jump back into the actual DDI grid itself, and we go back into our data management screen, under that demo view, we are going to see a huge amount of additional data. So here what we're seeing is all of that rich data being brought in, VLAN information, as well as the actual network usage, all available directly within that DDI single pane of glass. And again, this is something that's going to be constantly updating, because what we've done is we've now set this up on a daily cadence sync to continuously update the grid itself. So hopefully that's been informative for you, and we encourage you to reach out to us if you have any questions about both DDI or NetMRI. And thank you very much for your time.